Hello and welcome to Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham, where Team Needham discusses everything healthcare. I am your host, Shawn Needham, along with my wife and producer, Janet. And if you listen to that entire track, that is Johnny's Got a Girlfriend. That is our custom-made track for this radio show, and we have the honor today of having the musician, guitar player, recording artist that recorded that on our show today, and I'm super excited about it. His name is Lee Pence, and he is a awesome musician, an even greater guitar player, and an even better friend. And I feel honored to know him. He's one of the wisest guys I know, and one of my best friends. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's really amazing. Let me just tell a little bit of a story about how that track happened. I can't remember if I contacted you or you contacted me, Lee, but about wanting a track. But it just went from there, and Lee was great about asking me questions about what kind of genre of music I wanted it to be and what kind of theme I was looking for. And I will tell you, it just really fits the radio show, and I really, really appreciate it. And now when I hear that da na 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 na, I mean, I honestly, even though there's no words to that song, we should maybe make some words. But every time I hear that da na 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 na, I sing Johnny's Got a Girlfriend. So, I guess that's the whole point of it, right?
That's, yeah, it's identity.
And I also like the fact too that it is. It relates to the radio show. When I hear it now, it relates to the radio show. So I really appreciate it. So tell us about some of the details of the track without getting super, super specific, because you are such a awesome musician. Most of it goes over my head when you talk. But tell us about the guitar parts and the drums and all that.
In the case of Johnny's Got a Girlfriend, it would have been pretty easy to just play a lot of, rock licks, if you will, over the top of it or have some fun with it, but it couldn't really be that way. The parts had to be distinct so that it's not cluttered, and it delivers a musical theme, something that you can hum over and over again. Notice that the cadence of da-da-da-da-da-da occurs 3 times at least before the end, and so typically when you hear a theme, hopefully when you hear a theme 3 times, it sticks with you. That was kind of the point. So Johnny's Got a Girlfriend is not very complicated to play, but it's layered. So again, it's somewhat orchestrated, but it's meant to be a quick theme that will, stick in your head. That's what it's supposed to do. Ironically, in that particular case, the main guitar that you hear, that da-da-da-da-da-da, is the scratch track. It's pretty much the first thing I recorded against the rhythm section.
Awesome. So, we talk about everything healthcare on the show. We talk about everything healthcare on this show, and with that being said, tell us how you and I had some good discussions about music and guitar in general, and how it relates to our health. You shared a story with me, which we'll also put in the show notes. I can't remember the name of that story. Lee, what was the name of that story? The guitar, that story you shared with me about the guitar. Do you remember the name of the story, so our listeners and viewers can know?
It could have been the story about Les Paul and his health condition. I don't know. I'm not completely sure. I can tell you that probably one of the biggest fears of any musician or somebody who's associated with the music industry, meaning a guitar builder, somebody who's a producer, somebody who's a writer, somebody who's an engineer, one of the biggest fears is that their health will fail in a way that prevents them from playing or participating. Which suggests, and I think it's true, that music performance or music participation in the industry is a physical activity. There's really no way around it, particularly in music performance. For instance, one of my guitar teachers, Howard Roberts, who's no longer with us, once told me that there are 64 different muscles triggered in your left arm when you're playing a guitar. So you know, by analogy, you can see just how physical it can be. Another issue that comes to mind, of course, is somebody can point to possible exceptions and say, well, you can look back in the 60s and 70s and you can find a lot of people who lived a decadent lifestyle and they're still with us. And I guess that's true. I mean, you could make the argument that we should be starting to worry of what kind of world we're going to leave behind for Keith Richards. But I think he's
I love it. What kind of world we're going to leave for Keith Richards? Yeah.
You know, worry about the world will leave behind for Keith Richards. Every time I see a picture of him or hear the Stones, I wonder just how long, how long he's going to live and how long he's really been alive. But it does go back to diet and exercise. You know, I think a lot of musicians have tipped to the fact that longevity is going to be tied directly to diet and exercise. The main case in point that I guess I relate to is an artist that you and I saw a couple years ago, and that's Ringo Starr. I think this year he will be 80 years old, and when we saw him, he would have been pushing 78, or pretty close to it. I don't know how long ago, perhaps 20 years ago, maybe longer. He tipped to the idea that maybe diet and exercise would, allow him to perform longer, perform better, and he's been, from what I at least read, he's pretty adamant and pretty dedicated to the concept of diet and exercise. I know that when we saw him, he was performing like I would have expected Ringo to perform, 30 years ago, but there he was. So, again, you can see just how physical it can be, and when you protect your health through diet and exercise, then you're going to be able to perform longer, perform better.
We talk about it a lot on this show, Lee, and I appreciate you giving your insight, just how important it is the way, we can control our diet, we can control exercise, movement, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a lot, it just has to be something. And I think what is getting more clear is that we don't have to decline in performance, whether it be, in sports or whether it be in playing guitar. And a lot of the times the reason people do decline in performance is because they're not practicing anymore, they're not performing anymore. When you and I saw Paul McCartney last year in Phoenix, I don't know, you would know more than I would about how old he is, 77 or something. That guy can still perform, and I'm sure it's partly how he takes care of himself, for sure. And yeah, there's always the outliers like Keith Richards and Ozzy Osbourne, and maybe the Mayo Clinic should do studies on those guys, because it is amazing how they've treated their bodies and been able to still perform. So what is your routine like now that you're you're a full-time musician? What's your routine like as far as recording? Because you have an awesome studio, by the way. So tell me a little bit about it.
My routine is, first of all, I have a daily routine outlined where I will practice, literally guitar. And when I say practice, I mean practice. You hear about musicians who will practice, and kind of sometimes, well, I guess I should say, sometimes that really boils down to them playing the same thing that they know day after day. But that's not really practicing and growing. There's a concept called deep practice, and that's when you really learn something new. The concept of deep practice is, by the way, in a book called The Talent Code, and it talks about the way that people actually learn. Anyway, I have an actual practice schedule that's pretty demanding. I'll go through chords for 30 minutes with a 5-minute break, then I'll go through reading for another 30 minutes with a 5-minute break, and then I'll pick different parts of a song that is pretty challenging for me, and then I'll pick a different style of a guitar player that I ordinarily wouldn't have much to do with, and I have a system for practicing that particular style for 30 minutes, another 5-minute break, and so on, and I have, about 6 30-minute blocks chained together with 5-minute breaks in between, intermittent. So there's that. There's also, then I have a recording time set out. I guess, quite frankly, it's a schedule like any other schedule. It's not just playing around at it. It's working at something, but it's working at something that you love. I should say that there's really, frankly, just picking up a guitar, playing a musical instrument, violin, banjo, mandolin, whatever it is that you really want to do, has an attribute that's not always necessarily geared toward progress, but it is geared toward health in as much as when you do that, it is a stress reliever. It's a reliever from anxiety. It improves your memory. It improves cognitive function. I call my space there where I don't have to practice, or I'm not recording, or I'm not drilling down on a particular part, any of those things. I call it Telecaster Zen. That's when I get to play. I'm a Fender Telecaster fan. I have a couple, and that's when I get to play a Telecaster and just kind of sit back and play what I want and relax.
Hey, awesome, Lee. Hey, we are getting close to a commercial break, so we're going to have to cut you off here pretty soon. But I want to let our guests and listeners know. I want to thank you for letting us be part of your journey and making a track for us. And I want you to tell our guests how to get a hold of you.
If you want to know more about me, you can go to www.leepence, all one word, LEEPENCE.net, or visit Facebook, Guitar Escape. And there I am. You can learn more about me.
I love it, Lee. Thanks for being on our show, and we will talk to you later. You have reached the first segment of Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham, where Team Needham discuss everything healthcare. We are going to go on a commercial break for a few minutes, and we'll be back shortly. Thank you for listening. Hello, and welcome back to Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham. You were listening to our custom track. You were just listening to the guitar player on our first segment of our show that talked about that custom track. Johnny's Got a Girlfriend. I love it. I love listening to it, and it reminds me of my radio show. So on the second segment, if you missed on the first segment, that was Lee Pence. He's a professional guitar player, recording artist, and we will put in the show notes how to get a hold of him. So in the second segment, we have Heidi Meier with us. And Simple Health with Heidi. Is that correct, Heidi?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And we're going to talk about some things that she does. I'll just go ahead and let her introduce herself.
Hi. Thanks for having me, first of all. I am an integrative nutrition health coach. And it's really easy to start off talking about what a health coach is by explaining what a health coach isn't. And I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a dietitian. I'm not a nurse or a doctor. However, there are doctors, nurses, nutritionists, dietitians that are health coaches. But sometimes I get lumped in that category. But I'm just an integrative nutrition health coach. And a health coach is really an ally in your health and wellness journey. And there's a program that I work with clients on their health and wellness journey, and I went to the largest nutrition school in the world called the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. And so that's looking at health in a total body, not just weight loss, but other things in your health, your wellness, mind, body, spirit, and other aspects just in addition to nutrition and what you're eating, but other areas of your life that can affect how you're eating. So it's kind of all encompassing. And the biggest thing about integrative nutrition, and you're probably going to find this in functional medicine, is bio-individuality. So every person is unique, and our bodies are different. And so coming up with a wellness plan that's unique to each person. And so what might work for you is not going to work for me because our bodies are different. So it's really part of integrative nutrition is looking at each individual client and what their health and wellness goals are.
Well, and I appreciate you saying that. We've said that over and over on this radio show, is that every diet is individual, and it's important to realize that because it's all personal. It depends on your activity level. It depends on many other factors. So I appreciate you saying that, because we can't just say one diet fits all. That's for sure.
Yes, correct.
So tell me a little bit about your program. How does this program? What is this program you're talking about?
Well, it's a 3-month program, and I work with clients in my office here at Body Benefits downtown in Moses Lake. And also I can work with clients remotely. And I start out with a free discovery session. And I send my clients, it's a 4-page intake form. So I'm looking at not just your weight, I'm looking at what are you eating specifically, what did you eat as a child, how is the health of your parents, if you're a woman, how is your cycle, or when you had a cycle, how is your cycle. One of the biggest questions is what is your biggest health challenge? And what are your goals? And so I kind of get a total picture of where each client is at. And from there, in that discovery session, we talk about putting together a program and making sure that it's a good fit for you. And then from there, the program is, like I said, 3 months, and we meet every 2 weeks. And it's every 2 weeks you get 50 to 60 minutes with your health coach, with me, and which is a lot more time than you normally get when you go to see your doctor. And so it starts with little changes. I don't go in and totally disrupt what you're doing, but I look at what you're doing and I try to make little changes. So each time that you would meet with me, we talk about what's going right, what's going wrong, and we kind of look at areas, little tweaks, little bits of homework that you can do. Maybe it's adding more water, maybe adding vegetables. So I try to do little things at a time, and because they're going to be more able to incorporate that long term than rather than just coming disrupting everything.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what we start out with, is mostly looking at diet, what you're eating, what you're putting in your mouth, what are you feeding yourself with. And then later, through the 3 months later, after we've made kind of some tweaks and people start feeling better, then we kind of go into what we call primary foods. And in integrative nutrition, primary foods are the things that actually fill you up inside. And that's going to be like relationships, physical activity, spirituality, and career, social life. So we kind of delve into other areas, because maybe if you are unhappy at your job, you are taking that out in the refrigerator, right? At night you're
Absolutely
numbing yourself up or eating ice cream. So we kind of look at other areas and other ways that a health coach can support you. And I think the biggest thing that a health coach can do is think of it as your ally. Maybe you've gone to the doctor recently and you've been diagnosed with prediabetes. And what a health coach can do is come in and help support what the doctor has prescribed. Maybe more activity, lifestyle changes. And when you have that support, you're much more likely to be successful in making those changes that you need to make.
Absolutely, and I appreciate you mentioning, about, you talk to them more than the doctor does, and it's nothing to pick on doctors. It's just that a lot of times they have to deal with so many things, they don't have the time to discuss diet, especially. And in my experience, not all doctors are really experienced in discussing different diets. So, I think that it's great that you can be an adjunct to that and a team member in their healthcare, because the more support, like you say, the more support somebody has, the more compliant they're going to be with their treatment, for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, tell us about some of the, is there some little mantras that you can give us, little tips like, stay away from processed food, simple stuff, so, that we can go into just a little bit of the time that we have?
Sure, you bet. The other thing I wanted to mention, too, about a health coach is sometimes you just need that accountability, right? It's easy to start a diet or a lifestyle change, and without that accountability, it's really easy to fail. And then you're putting yourself down and you're upset because you failed. And having that simple accountability partner there to help you, and kind of look at failures not as a failure but an opportunity to, like, why did this fail? What changes can we make?
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of accountability, I think that's so true. I have a mountain bike racing coach. In fact, he was on our radio show, Jason Jablonski, a few weeks ago. And I will tell you, one of the things that it does for me is he looks at my workouts every Monday, and it makes me want to do my workouts. And it's not that and he gets it that, I live a regular life. I'm not a professional mountain bike racer, so I'm going to miss some things, and
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things a coach can do is just, help motivate you and provide some accountability. If things aren't going right, also somebody to direct you and ask questions, right? Correct? So,
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
The resources. As a health coach, I have lots of resources. I've exposed to, over 100 dietary theories in my school. So if a client says, I want to start maybe eating paleo or something, I can help support them in that journey. And then sometimes that might not work for them, and we shift gears and try something else.
Is there any particular diet that you would recommend, other than the obvious, don't eat,
Right.
junk food or processed foods? Is there any other, the typical popular diets, Mediterranean diet, keto diet, paleo diet, carnivore diet, any of those diets that you would typically not ever recommend?
I really don't not recommend a diet. And I really look towards just eating whole foods,
Yep.
drinking lots of water, and like you said, getting rid of that processed junk. Really just looking at basically what you're putting in your mouth is gets digested and goes into the bloodstream. It becomes a part of our body, and it eventually comes out as your hair, your skin, your nails, also your emotions, your thoughts. So if you're eating a lot of crud, you're not going to be feeling really well, and it's going to also affect how clearly you're thinking. And so really just looking at, I try to keep it really simple. I really do. And it can be so confusing out there, right? There's so many things like, is coffee bad? Is coffee good?
Is 1 cup of coffee good? Is 3 cups of coffee bad?
Right. And so it's really tuning into your body and listening to your body. And if 3 cups of coffee is making you a little jittery or giving you an upset stomach, then I would say probably 3 cups is not so good.
Yeah.
Let's take it down to 1 or 2.
And there's the personal thing again. I know, speaking of coffee, my wife and I, we drink coffee almost every night. And it's caffeinated coffee. And, we listen to a few different health podcasts, and they just talk about how, people quit drinking your coffee at night past 4 o'clock because it'll keep you up and you're not sleeping good. It really honestly does not affect us.
Right.
But I listened to another podcast Saturday, and it talked about how there's different metabolizers of the way people metabolize caffeine, and we might be one of those metabolizers that it doesn't really affect us as much as it could affect somebody else. So that's why it's got to be personal, like you say.
Right.
For sure. So, so is there kind of a go-to diet that you start with at all? I mean, a whole foods diet. So would you kind of consider that when I think of a whole foods diet, I kind of think of paleo diet. And you want to elaborate on that at all?
Basically, I look at what they're eating, what they have been eating, what their lifestyle is. Like if they are traveling a lot, they're not going to be able to be home cooking dinner every night. So I look at individually what they're doing, what their lifestyle is, and I really just do try to keep it really simple. Whole grains, whole fruits and vegetables, and personally, for me, I like to lessen my toxic load, so I try to go more organic, grass-fed meats. That's maybe not an option for everybody, but that's kind of what I steer towards is really just keeping it more clean.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So as far as diet, as far as exercise, is that part of the program too?
Yeah,
you recommend exercise? So,
yeah, absolutely.
And I guess each individual would be different. Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just even for somebody that's not active at all, just starting them on a walking program. I mean, the biggest thing is just moving your body and getting some movement in. And eventually, when somebody just starts walking and they begin to feel better, I mean, you get those endorphins going and they start to say, well, I kind of like that. Maybe they'll walk some more. Maybe they'll join a program like jazzercise, yoga, or something like that, join a gym. But really just starting barely basic for some people. Some people are already really active, but maybe they've hit like a diet plateau. So we kind of look at, what's going on, what things can we change.
Well, I like the idea too that, I think I like the idea of when you say movement, because we talk about exercise a lot, and I think sometimes exercise scares people if they haven't, especially if they haven't exercised a lot. But I think that's why it's important to have a personal plan, because you're right. I mean, that exercise could just mean just starting with movement to start with, which means
Sure.
walking around the block.
Sure.
It could be that simple, or walking up the stairs 2 or 3 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be anything super, super strenuous to start with. And then, of course, you should probably progress it, but that will always come later. But just getting up and moving is important. Yeah.
Yeah, little changes can really make can really reap big benefits once you just start really doing the changes and following through. And then you'll start noticing the benefits in how you feel, how you look, really weight. That will work itself out.
Yeah.
It's really about, just getting to feel better, look better, and like a complete lifestyle.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think the scale can be used as a tool to kind of guide our programs, but we definitely don't have to live and die by the scale. And, if you just eat clean, I think that those and have good healthy habits, I think the scale will follow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some clients really want that measurement. They want that accountability. Every 2 weeks, let's get on the scale. For other clients, not so much. Some clients like the opportunity to do a food journal and track everything, look everything really closely. Others, that's a little stressful, like, having to remember to write that down. So again, it just goes back to that bio-individuality, working with each client and kind of figuring out what's going to work best for them.
There's other ways to measure too. I mean, the mirror is a good way to measure, how our pants fit, how our clothes fit is a good way to measure. I personally have, I do weigh myself, but I've got to be careful, because the scale for me can drive bad habits. Because if you're looking for a number, if you're just looking for a number, I mean, I'm a wrestler. I was a wrestler in high school, so
Sure.
I know how I can get that number down. I mean, I can lose 10 pounds in 2 days, easy. But I just starve myself and don't drink anything. But that doesn't mean that that's good for you.
Yeah.
So that's why you got to realize what the measurements, what's the end goal. So, all right, we're wrapping up this second segment with Heidi Meier. You're listening to Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham. We will be back shortly. Hello and welcome back to Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham. We are in the final episode. We are here in the studio with Heidi Meier. If you missed the second segment of our show, so we are talking about her and her health coach, and we are going to be talking about some other things that she does. Right now, what I would like to say is that now, there's been a lot of changes going on in our country all over. People are hunkered down. People are sheltered in place. Some people can't go out, and some businesses have been labeled as non-essential, or they've had to really change their business model. I guess all businesses have really probably had to change their business model. Some of those businesses have been labeled non-essential. Some of them, like restaurants, have been, had to really only do takeout, I guess. I don't know how else to say that. So I'm sure that's going to really, really hurt their business a little bit. Well, I really want to support those businesses as much as I can. I think we all should do that. So what I would like to do now is I would like to invite somebody to call in. So we need a caller. Be part of the show, 509-765-1470. The first caller that calls in is going to get a gift certificate to the restaurant of their choice for $50. So first caller will get a gift certificate. And the first one that messages on Facebook and with the message restaurant will also get a gift certificate. So let's engage some people. Let's support our local restaurants. In the meantime, we will keep going with Heidi. Heidi, tell us about some of the things you do. Yoga, correct?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. Probably about 5-6 years ago, I used to really enjoy running. That was kind of my stress reliever. And ended up injuring my knee and having surgery. And the doctor told me running was basically out for me. So I was devastated, like, what am I going to do? And yoga kind of fell into my lap. And from there, I enjoyed it so much that I went ahead and got certified as a registered yoga teacher. And it's something that's been around for, over 5,000 years. And so it's obviously not going away. And it kind of became mainstream, probably like in the U.S., probably around the late 70s, maybe early 80s. And yoga comes from the Sanskrit word of yoke, or to bring together. And so in yoga, first of all, think of yoga. A lot of people think, well, that's for really bendy people, or, really limber people. But yoga is for anybody and for everybody. It doesn't matter your age or your size. It's a wonderful tool for processing things that are happening in your life, getting physical. So to yoke, like I said, yoga means to yoke. So what you're doing is you're bringing movement in conjunction with breath work. So you're controlling your breath as you move into yoga postures. And when you can do process, when you can breathe and move, you're able to kind of get into almost like a meditative state. And so it's also physical, but it's also emotional. And so yoga is really a great way when you think about all the stressors that you have throughout your day, and how do you process those? Well, one opportunity or one outlet is yoga. And yoga has also, it's great for blood pressure, immunity. Like I said, when you're doing breath work, what are you doing? You're strengthening your lungs.
Yep.
So kind of turning on that parasympathetic rest and digest. At the end of your yoga session, you can go in shavasana and rest. And so it can be very powerful. And a lot of people will try yoga one time and they say, well, it's not for me. But if you really stick to it, I'd say try it a couple of times.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think Heidi, pause 1 minute. I think we have a caller on the line. Is that correct?
We have a caller. You need to ask him his name, though, because he was having bad feedback.
Oh, okay. So go ahead and turn my microphone down. Let's turn him up. Can you hear us, caller?
Hello.
Hello. How are you doing?
Pretty good.
All right. Welcome to Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham. So you are the winner of a $50 gift certificate.
Great.
What is your name?
Judy,
All right, Judy. Thank you for calling. Where are you calling from?
you're in Moses.
All right. So I am going to have my assistant who is helping me get your phone number, and we will contact you and get that gift certificate to you, okay?
Great. Thank you very much.
So we can say it on the air, what restaurant would you like us to support?
Oh, man.
Sorry to put you on the spot, but I just like to put their name out there.
I guess. Oh, shoot. Oh.
You don't have to say, Judy. We will get a hold of you, and we will get you that gift certificate. And just all the restaurants in town, just let you know we're thinking about you.
I'll go with Bistro.
Bistro.
Yeah.
All right. You go with Michael's Bistro. We will do that, and we'll get a hold of you so we can get you that gift certificate. Thank you so much for calling in, Judy.
Thank you.
All right. Go ahead, Heidi. Keep going.
Yeah, sure. Awesome. So yoga, and right now, we're all stuck at home. So there's a lot of free yoga that you can find online. You can go to YouTube. Right now, you can encourage your kids. You can find kid yoga. But really, an awesome, especially right now, if you're stuck at home or the kids are on spring break, maybe try a little yoga.
Yeah. I've tried a little bit of yoga, and I'm the kind of guy that, and I haven't had any professional instruction. I've done some videos and stuff. I'm the kind of guy that when I work out, I want to get, I want to be sweating. I want to get a really hard workout. I want my heart rate to be up, and educate me. I don't know a lot about yoga, so I've heard that it's true that. Is it true that your heart rate should go down during yoga? Is that true?
Well, there are different types of yoga.
Oh, good.
Okay. So you would do well with like a power type yoga, where you get really sweaty, your heart rate's up, you're really getting a good workout along with the yoga positions. So there is that type of yoga, like a core power yoga. And then there's more what we call like restorative yoga. That's like the really relaxing yoga. Again, where we're trying to turn on the parasympathetic nervous system, breathe deeply. So there is different types of yoga. So you could definitely find one to get that good heart rate up, get that good sweaty workout.
Okay, that's really good to know. Now, what about hot yoga? Can you do any kind of yoga in a hot studio? It's just in a hot studio.
Not all studios are hot.
Correct.
And some do both. A hot studio kind of came with a hatha. It's called a hatha or Bikram style yoga. He's the one that kind of brought that into the mainstream, and that's a really great way to detox because you're going to sweat a lot in a hot yoga studio, and skin being your biggest organ, so you're going to sweat and detox. But some people are also really intimidated about getting hot and going into a hot room. So there's other types of yoga that you can do that are room temperature or maybe just a little warmer, and still get either type of the workout that you want or the relaxation that you want.
Yeah, I've never. I can't imagine. I think how hot are those hot yogas? 104.
Yeah, and high humidity.
Yeah. So I mean, I personally, I've never done it, so I really shouldn't sit here and say that I wouldn't do it. But I've never done it. But I can't imagine wanting to work out in a condition like that. But I will tell you, I have a lot of friends that have done it and they love it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't know, when I think about it, it sounds like working out in a sauna.
Right.
But I guess that
Yeah.
might make you feel good too. So
Right,
I
yeah.
haven't tried it. So it's something I should probably do.
You get a little more flexibility with the heat.
No, that makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So we got about 3 minutes before we start wrapping up, 4 minutes or so. So tell us a little bit about, there's another modality that you have, and it's called Reiki. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So tell us a little bit about that. Reiki is spelled, how's it spelled?
Reike.
Okay, we'll put that in the show notes.
Yeah. So again, Reiki goes back to the 1800s, and Reiki is energy work. We're all energy. We're all made up of energy, and if you kind of think it's a hands-on kind of an energy balancing modality, so we are kind of a touchless society now, right? We do everything by text message and everything. And we've kind of gotten away from the human touch and healing way in a safe healing way. And with Reiki, or any type of energy work, like acupuncture or something like that, if you think about what we do when we have a headache, we put our hands on our head, or we have a stomachache, we put our hands on our belly. So it's just human nature to want to touch ourselves to kind of relieve discomfort. So as a Reiki practitioner is going to do hands-on, and the patient or client, is usually laying on a massage table, and we just kind of tune into their energy and find ways to kind of balance it. And Reiki is just universal life force energy. That's nothing that's related to any type of religion. And it's just a way of balancing energy, finding energy blocks and ways to remove those energy blocks, which could be from emotional trauma, physical trauma. But again, just even the relaxation of light touch in a safe way, with maybe some candles or some essential oils, can be very relaxing.
So is it safe to say it's a form of massage because it is touch? Is that correct?
Not massage, but just hands on specific areas. And because I'm a channel for the energy, that when I'm working on a client, so my hands will actually heat up, and we will kind of feel the person will walk away either feeling something, or maybe just having like a nap sometimes, or they might have actually felt something kind of release. Maybe a physical release or an emotional release. Some people cry, maybe had some kind of an emotional release. So it's really a fun, exciting, different modality that I like to do with clients.
So with this shelter-in-place order, it's definitely changed a lot of businesses like yourselves as far as massage and things like that. Is there anything that you mentioned that your health coaching can be done virtually?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So people can find me on my website, www.simplehealthwithheidi, and Heidi is Heidi. I'm also on Facebook, and you can actually schedule that free discovery consultation with me, and I will send you that 4-page intake form. You would fill that out. We would find a time that maybe we could speak remotely, like through sometimes like Facebook Messenger Live is a good option, or even just over the phone. And we'll discuss and we'll go through that intake form and just kind of see what your health goals are, what you're struggling with, and I can offer solutions, or say this is a 3-month program might work for you, and go from there.
Well, I think, and I appreciate your opinion on this. I think during these times, I think most of us will agree. It's not true of everybody, but I think there's a lot of people that have a little bit extra time right now. And I think with that time, there would be a perfect opportunity to really dial your diet in, dial your exercise in, instead of sitting around and binge watching Netflix,
Right.
which I'm guilty of. You know, use this time as an opportunity to dial those specifics in. You want to elaborate on that at all?
Oh, sure, absolutely. Like you said, this is a really challenging time for a lot of people. We're hearing a lot of things that are scary. And so just taking that time away, focusing just on yourself and your health is going to be really important in the long way. So having maybe an accountability partner that you can talk to might spur you on to make those changes you've always thought about, or maybe even tried but failed, and saying, now is the time I start focusing on myself and my health, because really your health is really all that you have.
That's it. And here's one of the things that this sounds selfish, but the fact of the matter is, if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of anybody.
Right.
That means we can't take care of our spouse. We can't take care of our kids. We have to focus on ourselves first. And if we don't take care of our health, health is wealth. Literally,
Right.
If we don't take care of our health, we cannot work as hard. Period. I don't care if it's a physical job or not, because our health does affect our mental state, just like you were talking earlier. So I really appreciate all the comments you've had. So we got about 1 minute to wrap things up. What parting words do you have? And you already mentioned how to get a hold of you, but give us any parting words and just tell us again how we can get a hold of you.
Again, it's Simple Health with Heidi, and that's also my Facebook name and my website. And I would just say, again, just try to breathe. We're all going to get through this. Our grandfathers, our great-grandfathers, great-grandparents, they've been through a lot worse, and they've come out stronger. And we're going to come out bigger and stronger.
Absolutely.
So just breathe, get outside. It's beautiful right now. And just take this time and really find ways to enjoy this quiet time, because it's for a reason. So, and again, just get away from that Netflix and get outside and take this time with your family.
I really appreciate your insight, Heidi, and I love your comments. Thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you.
And you've been listening to Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham, another episode. And next week, stay tuned, because we will have Dr. T.D. Scott. She specializes in hormone balancing, and as you know, at Moses Lake Professional Pharmacy, that's what we specialize in. So we will be talking to her via video conference. And again, another episode. Listen to us every Monday, 1 to 2 p.m. Thank you for listening.